Hello and welcome back to Suspended Fanimation. I'm your host, Dennis Bithoulkas, and it's time for another episode of Is It Worth My Time? And this time around, it's from the newly released movie Morbius. That should have been released 2 years ago, I think is what it was. No, a year ago. That's right. It was in the can a year ago. So it's been delayed a year. So before I get started, let me take care of some business first, and then we'll get down to it. If you like what you see here, like, share, and subscribe. If you're still on the fence about subscribing, take a look at the video that pops by the very end here. YouTube takes out all the algorithms of all the stuff you've been watching and tries to match it as best as possible to one of the videos in my vast video library and pops it up here just for you. And if you like what you see there, hit that subscribe button down below here. And if you don't want to be notified when I come on live, or it's a 50-50 chance of YouTube actually notifying you, hit that bell down below there and YouTube might notify you. Who knows? But if you really want to know what I'm going to be on, go over to suspendedfanimation.com. Excuse me. Take a look at the schedule up there. I change it out every week. And also, I have all the links to my social media on there and all the links to my pages as well. So, the non-spoiler version of this movie. What is this movie kind of about? It's in association with Marvel, kind of, sort of, loosely. So Sony owns the rights to Spider-Man, of course, at this point, and anything Spider-Man related. So this is the villains, characters, things like that. It's like 900 characters, Morbius being one of them. So of course they are going to take advantage as much as possible to delve into some Disney money here, and that is why they made this movie. In the comics, Morbius is a tragic figure in a way. He is a fellow scientist, and he does an experiment that kind of goes awry, and he becomes a living vampire, if you will. And he has a fucked up face and a thirst for blood, all that kind of stuff. So that's not what this movie is. They kind of loosely based it on the comic. Um, you know, there's no Spider-Man in this universe because it takes place in the Venom universe, by the way. So that's where we're at in this world. Um, and Jared Leto plays Michael Morbius, and um, that's pretty much what you need to know. Is that well? Okay, so what he is a scientist who has a disease that is looking for a cure for a disease, and he's using vampire bats in order to do this. And again, a experiment goes awry. He ends up a thirst for blood, and blah 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 blah. Hilarity ensues from that point. Is it worth your time? It is not worth your time. It's boring. It's an hour and 44 minutes long. It's a boring movie that really goes nowhere, meanders all over the place, and it's got some of the shittiest CGI I've seen in a movie in a long time. I honestly, I was thinking back to the movie again today, and it reminded me of a late '90s superhero movie where we're just gonna throw in a character and fuck the story, but you're getting a live action superhero on the screen, so you should be thankful for that. Is really what it was. Um, Pretty much anything that Avi Arad has done since the '90s. That's what you need to look at. That's what it felt like, and it just was really shitty. I'm gonna say right now, in 2 years, that CGI is gonna look so fucking dated, and it's about 65, almost 70% of the movie. And it's going to look very, very dated and just very shitty. So yeah, it's not good. It's not good at all. So Siri says I was here first. I was just lurking, like the hermit millennial. I am. Okay. Um, yeah, it's not good. So, with that said, let's get into the spoiler first version of this. Spoiler alert, I am going to spoil the movie. It's already been pre-spoiled really anyway. So, if you don't want to be spoiled, you can take off right now, and I'll give you a couple of minutes to move here. All right. You got it. Okay. Okay. Um, Jared Leto is just a horrible fucking actor. He was trying to act human and was failing at it. It was kind of a weird situation. I'm sitting there watching it going, is he trying to act like he's human, but he's not human? I don't understand. And that was throughout the entire movie, even when he wasn't Morbius at that point, or the vampire or whatever you want it is. Also, from the trailer that originally came out to what came out on the screen, they've taken out a lot of stuff that was supposed to happen. Like, so they don't mention what the fuck the disease is that Morbius has. He and Matt Smith. So Matt Smith is also a friend of his who has the disease as well. They don't say what it is, only that they are crippled by it. So they're using crutches and dragging their feet a lot. Um, and supposedly they need blood transfusions like a couple of times a day. Okay. I don't know if anyone knows about blood transfusion. So a whole body blood transfusion takes 3 hours. So if they are saying a couple of times a day, they are completely hooked up to a machine all day long. That's what it should be, not a couple of times a day. So no one did any research at all, any kind of medical research. Um, which isn't surprising. I mean, this is just a really shittily written movie and shittily made movie as well. There's a couple of scenes where the director Daniel Crestor, I believe his name is. Let me go back and take a quick peek here. I believe his name is Daniel Espinosa. Excuse me, Daniel Espinosa has a real fetish for some reason of shooting really low and having to show that Michael Morbius doesn't like tying his shoes, obviously, or can't tie his shoes. So you start off kind of almost zoomed in on the shoes, the untied shoes, and you pull back a little bit as he's walking away from the camera. And I'm going, What the fuck?" And I mean, it's literally done 4 times in the movie. I counted, yes. And yeah, words to me as I left halfway in the theater. I don't I'm actually, kind of envious of you. Um, I would have left too, but I was waiting for my food to arrive. So I went to the Swanky Theater that actually puts it on the side of the walls too. So it's not only just the front screen, but they also project for certain scenes on the side of the walls. It's got a comfy recliner thing. You can order food, to be brought up to you, in the theater and all that stuff. So yeah. So I understand how bad it was. Word 789. Um, I know Siri. I went serious. I went to the theater for this one, so I knew it was going to be bad. So anyway, last week was a really shitty week, and it just kind of ended with Morbius. That was the shittiest thing. That I could end it with. So that's what I thought it was going to be. The theater is really nice, Sirish. It actually you have two seats that are grouped together, then you have a big space in between them, and then two more seats and whatnot. And I actually kind of like that. So it's you're really spaced out from people, and you don't have to worry about shit. Um, but anyway, going back to the movie. Um, at one point, they're out on a ship in international waters, which they say is 13 miles off the coast, which is supposed to be 20 miles, if I remember correctly. And Michael Morbius is going to inject himself with the serum that he got from vampire bats. And the doctor who's with him, who might be his love interest, which you find out later on about halfway through the movie that yes, she is, Martine, helps him inject it into his spine between two vertebrae, which looks really fucking painful. And I'm like, well, if you're just doing DNA deletion, why do you need to inject it in a certain spot in the spine? Because all you're doing is you can inject that in the arm, you can inject that in your ass, you can inject it in your neck, your penis, your balls, wherever the fuck you really wanted to. You didn't need to put it in the middle of your spine. So yeah, it was just kind of a weird thing. There's a lot of weird things in this movie that happened, and you're sitting there just kind of looking at this going, man, why? Also, Matt Smith's character, by the way, steals one of the vials so he can become, a living vampire or whatnot. So obviously, he did not inject himself in the back because you can't reach back there in order to do that. And he came out okay as being a vampire. So, and of course, he becomes the bad guy at that point. Oh yeah. So also from the trailer, the original trailer, I guess the what they showed in the trailer was that Michael Morbius goes into Costa Rica into the jungles to find this particular vampire bat. That I guess they say 100 of them can devour an entire cow in seconds, is what they say. Sanguinate them, whatever. And in the trailer, he uses himself as bait to get bitten by these vampire bats, and then he disappears for a couple of months and then appears. That's in the trailer. The movie, no, they scrapped that completely. They did use the scene of him cutting his hand, which, by the way, I'm getting tired of people cutting all the way across their fucking hand like that. So when you cut all the way across your hand like that, you cut all the tendons to your fingers and your thumb. Well, your fingers mainly, because if you cut down here, then you get to the thumb as well. And your fingers will not work if you cut all the way across your fucking hand like that, especially as deeply as they do in the movies. So fucking just stop it. Um, anyway, he cuts his hand and holds it out like that, supposedly to capture some vampire bats. I don't know because the other guys go running for cover in the helicopter and he does not, but he survives somehow, even though he's crippled at that point on his crutches and can't run anyway. So that makes no sense whatsoever. Um, yeah, there's a lot of real inconsistencies in this movie. A lot of it having to do with Jared Leto's acting as well. And Tyrese Gibson comes in to sneer for the most part throughout this movie. He has no fun in it whatsoever. And honestly, they could have used anybody in that one. They really could have used anybody whatsoever. And they used Tyrese Gibson. All right. He really wasn't an addition or subtraction to the movie whatsoever. Also, Al Madrigal, who I think I've seen in one thing, but I don't remember him all that well, is supposed to be the comic relief, I guess you could say, of the two bumbling cops, so bumbling FBI agents. And again, does not add or detract to anything here. It's just he's there. Um, Matt Smith is probably the best thing in this entire movie when he goes evil, evil. Was it evil? There we go. Um, he drains people and then kind of dances around their bodies, kind of thing. That's what Matt Smith does. I kind of sorry for him doing this movie. I want to see Matt Smith do a good movie for a change, and this is not it. This is just a really shit movie. With really bad special effects, which are in everything. So they're always using echolocation. Both Matt Smith and Jared Leto, and that is so they can hear things, and they also can track things. And every time they use echolocation, everything gets that smoky mist kind of thing, which is a great little tool on Maya that you can use. Maya is the 3D program. And someone just looks like they discovered it and decided to do it with everything. Oh my God, look, it's a special effects tool. It's really fucking stupid. Yeah. Um, Ben says, I'm still wanting to see it. Let's put it this way, by the end of the movie, and I knew there was going to be like end credits, there's two end credit scenes. My check arrived for my pretzels and my drink, and I was spending more time focusing on my bill than I was really what was going on. And I did pay attention to the teaser. So Adrian Toomes, Michael Keaton's character from the most recent Spider-Man movies, shows up. We see the crack in the sky from No Way Home, and he appears in a cell, kind of like being transported there, kind of like we saw with Venom in Venom 2, Venom versus Carnage. Anyway, he shows up in the cell. Then there's a very quick thing where he's discovered in the cell, and they say, "Who the fuck is this guy? He's been wrongfully put in this cell." So they take him to trial, I guess it is, to see why he's in this cell, and they exonerate him. And then they say it's a couple of months later for the second teaser and or the second stinger, whatever you want to call it. And um, Toombs has called Morbius to come and meet him out in the desert, I guess it is, or outside the city on some barren CGI property that they have out there because they haven't built anything, CGI just as of yet. And Morbius looks fine because he's on the run, by the way, from the cops for murder and all this stuff. But he looks perfectly good because he's driving a nice sports car. He's got his nice watch going. He's wearing nice clothes. He still looks human, all that kind of stuff. And Tomb shows up in full vulture mode, flying in and lands and says, "Hey, in my world, there's a guy named Spider-Man." And Morbius doesn't blink an eye and go, "Who the fuck is Spider-Man?" No, he just, doesn't say anything. And Tomb says, "Hey, we should get together, you and I, and we should do something." And Morbius is like, "Okay, I'm in," is really what it comes down to. And that was it. So one thing I have to ask is, so with no Avengers in that world, which we know that from the end of Spider-Man No Way Home, when Eddie Brock ends up in Spider-Man's world, the MCU, that there are no Avengers in his world. There's no Battle of New York. There is no aliens. There is no alien technology. So how the fuck did he build that new vulture getup if there is no alien technology? Yeah. I really just wanted to bang my head against the wall. It was just that fucking stupid. Oh yeah, and by the way, what's her face? The other doctor that helped him, Martine, Matt Smith's character Milo ends up killing her by, I don't know, thrusting his thumb in her throat. I don't know exactly what happened because they don't really show it. You don't but she as she's dying, she tells Morbius to eat her. Eat me. Use my blood. And he goes down to kiss her, and some drops of his blood goes into her mouth, and then he drains her after he hears her heartbeat stop. And then at the end of the movie, she wakes up on the roof because he leaves her body on the roof where no one can get to it and doesn't come back to it after he kills Milo. Um, like I said, this is the stupidest fucking movie really ever. Uh, and it's really not worth your time. It really isn't worth your time. Sirius says vampire piranha bats, not piranha bats. That would be ridiculous. uh, Penn says a Facebook friend posted this spoiler-free review. Nice compact movie, not too many characters. Matt Smith kept channeling a certain Time Lord. Facial special effects were oh my god. Sorry. So the other thing is, whenever they get hungry, the vampire dudes, their faces kind of shift over. It's like, "Roar, roar, roar," and it's only to hide the really bad special effects, the bad CGI. That's the reason why they remain human looking, if you will, is to not show you how bad the CGI actually is. So they could have done prosthetic makeup. They could have gone practical and actually pulled it off, but no. Um, in the comics, he always looks like a vampire. He never looks human because that is part of the affliction. Uh, in this, he looks human, and then also he becomes really buff too. Somehow he just kind of buffs out. So, yeah. Mercenary X84 says those end credit scenes made no sense. Exactly. They make zero sense whatsoever. And Mercenary says, Matt Smith was acting his ass off. Shame it was in this film. I know. I know. He was trying. He was trying, but yeah. Yeah, I know. Sirius says, but the real question is, how was Venom in the end of Spider-Man No Way Home if he has no idea who Peter Parker was? Um, yeah. So, well, he disappeared. He came to that Spider-Man world, to the MCU world there, and learned about them all from the guy from Ted Lasso who was bartending. And then he disappeared and supposedly went back to his world. So yeah, I guess that was the whole thing of this. So long story short, this is not worth your time. It's a long, boring movie with no plot whatsoever. I mean, all it is that he experiments on himself to find a cure. Oh, and I just want to say there's also a little girl named Anna that he was taking care of that he put to sleep. Since she had some problems breathing or whatever, and he injected her with something. Says, okay, go to sleep and everything will be okay. And then he goes off on the ship and becomes Morbius, the living vampire thing. We have no idea what the fuck happened to Anna. Anna is pretty much, she could have died. She obviously didn't get the cure, so I'm pretty much sure she's dead because she was off in a back room someplace. So they just kind of forgot about that one. They just kind of left it and said, "There you go, it's done." Man. Oh. Sirius says, but I thought the people who pulled, but I thought the people were pulled in because they knew Peter Parker was Spider Man. Yeah, that was what that said, but I don't know why um, Eddie Brock and Venom were brought in. I really don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I know it made no sense to me either. It really didn't. So. Yeah, not a good movie. Not a good movie by any long shot of the imagination. So, I was trying to help you, but I was trying to think of something serious, but I think my brain broke trying to think of anything on that, and it just doesn't make any sense. That is the one, I guess you could say, failing to, Spider-Man: No Way Home. I'll watch it again when it's gonna come out, well, I'm getting the 4K disc, on the 12th. So I'll watch it again and again and again and again and again and again. So, yeah. So, with that said, what else do I have going on the rest of this week? Well, not a whole hell of a lot because there isn't a whole hell of a lot going on at the moment. So, what I'm doing is tomorrow is going to be Moon Knight. That's right, Mooney is back. At least for another 5 episodes. Um, so Moon Knight will be tomorrow night. Thursday and Friday and Saturday I'll be off. Sunday will be either um a Sunday edition of Saturday Morning Blast Off or a spoiler alert, depending on which one it is. And then Monday I'll be off again, and then Tuesday will be another episode of Is It Worth My Time? And who knows, I might do Venom to Let There Be Carnage this time around, since I keep threatening to do that one. So we'll see what happens. Oh, and by the way, I completely spaced on Moon Knight last week. I didn't even realize that when he wakes up in that town, the German town, if you will, it's not a German town. He was in Latveria because you can see Doctor Doom's castle in the background. So Doctor Doom's castle is in the background, and there's also a crate that's behind him on one of the trucks there that says Von D with a period for Von Doom. Yeah, Von D. That's his rapper name, by the way. But he likes to rap happy. I just realized I quoted, uh, I quoted Neil Patrick Harris from, I wanna say it's from Undercover Brother. Yes, it's Undercover Brother, that's right, where he says he likes, Will Smith, the Fresh Prince, his rap because he likes to rap happy, and then I was just thinking about the whole Oscar thing and how it spins off and how wrong that is now, and oh my god, that just it made me laugh. Sorry, it was a whole string of, like, non sequiturs that just made me my brain kinda hurt there for a minute, and also laugh at the same time. Anyway, with that said, thank you to everybody joining me today in the chat, and thank you if you made it this far in the video. If you're still on the fence about subscribing, take a look at the video that pops up at the very end here. YouTube takes the algorithms of all the stuff you've been watching and tries to match it as best as possible to one of the videos in my vast video library and pops it up here just for you. And if you like what you see here, hit that subscribe button down below there. And if you can, hit that like button, the share button as well. And if you want to know when I'm going to be on live again next, go over to suspendedfanimation.com. Take a look at the schedule I have up there. I change it out every week. Also have all the links to my social media, all the links to my pages on there. Just pretty much all links of everything. So with that said, thank you everybody. I will see you again tomorrow for old Mooney night. Until then, don't let the door hit your ass on the way out. Otherwise, you may be trapped in a really bad movie that's just nothing but bad CGI, horrible plot twists that were taken from the 90s, late 90s, and not even plot twists, just incomplete plots and shitty writing abounding. And an actor who doesn't know whether or not he's trying to act human or if he's trying to act human. It's just not working for him. Thanks, everybody. I will see you again tomorrow. Until then, don't, until then, stay safe, be well, take care, get those vaccine shots, get those boosters as well. Even if you need to get 2 boosters, do it. And, you might as well get the flu shot while you're out there too. Thanks, everybody. I will see you again tomorrow. Have a good night and take care, everybody. Have a good one. Good night.